Okay. We are ready to get the party started. I can't believe I get to log in every Friday afternoon and speak with you all and tell you all the wonderful things I think about in the small business community. Um, for those of you who've been paying attention over the last weeks, we've been talking about how to create the types of networks that you need to create to make sure that you're not just thriving, or not that you're surviving, but you are thriving. I can't tell you how important it is. You have to have the right people around you. You have to be able to not just have the right people around you, but be able to utilize them correctly. And for those of you all who pay attention to a lot of things that we've been talking about, I'm an avid believer in networking, but I'm more of a believer in making sure that you use your networks to create the leverage that you're going to need to drive your success and your happiness. It's all about fulfillment. It's all about wellness. It's all about balance and alignment and being able to do the things that you need to do when you need to do them in the way that you need to do them with the intensity that's going to add the most meaning, the most relevance, and the most significance for every single moment of your life and of your business. These things are critical. And so, again, following along the series we've been talking about everything you need to do to develop your plans for 2023. We started out talking about creating your vision. We talked about what that might mean to your mission, how your goals may impact that. Now we're leading into how the community that you develop around you, how the network that you develop around you is going to add significance and relevance to those things. And in the end, we're gonna crown this off when it's all said and done. We're gonna be talking about the day-to-day things that you have to remember to do, the habits that you have to engender, how you're gonna create and manufacture those habits. But so important, your network is key. And whatever is stopping you from developing your network, you have to get rid of that, right? So you have to figure that out. And that's what we're gonna talk about today. The things that stop us from developing our network and how we can begin to address those things. But before we even get into those, we're going to want to talk about, why it's important to develop your network. I think it's not so obvious to people because the network that we're born into is a network that we're born into. It's a network that we have. The people we find in the workplace, the people that we find in the associations that we belong to, people that we kind of bump into accidentally along the way during our lives, period. And don't get me wrong, I don't believe that people accidentally come into your life. I do believe that there's a destiny to every moment and every opportunity that you have with every person that comes into your life and into your business. And it's your job to figure out what that is. But it's also your job to try to manufacture at least an environment by which the best in everybody can come out. And so in order to do that, you have to be really, really careful. And if you follow the series that we talked about a couple of weeks ago, we've been talking about, how to analyze your network, right? How to really, really break it apart into all its different pieces and figure out, take a look at it, put it up on the chassis, right? And look and see what's underneath it, how it's all working together. Ask your friends and associates for help, comments, all the things you need to do to make sure that you truly understand your network, and then you understand your needs, right? And once you understand your network, you understand your needs, then it's much easier for you to go out there and then to identify and recruit the people that you're going to need to have pull into your network. But before you got to do that, you got to get over some things. And that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about some of the things you have to address and deal with in order to adequately even be willing to grow the networks that you need to grow. Yes, you need to understand what your networks are today and how they got you from where you are to where you are right now. And you need to ask yourself questions about where they may take you in the future. But before you can actually engage and create that network, you got to get over a couple of problems. And that's what we're going to talk to you about today. For those of you all who are tuning in for the first time, this is Coffee to You and Me every Friday, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I try to get together with entrepreneurs and business leaders from all over the world. We have people logging in from everywhere. And they find us on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on YouTube, and they engage with us. They create opportunities with us, and we're going to give those opportunities to you. If you're a small business leader, if you're a business leader, it doesn't matter who or wherever you're watching the show. I want you to put your information in the comment section. Tell us who you are. Tell us where you're coming from. Tell us where you're watching from. Even if you're watching this on the recording, it's so important that you engage with the material, engage with people as much as you possibly can. You never know who's out there, who might know you, might recognize you, might need you. And so if there's something that you want to put in there about your services, if you want to put in the chat, in the comment section about who you are, where you're coming from, we welcome that opportunity. We don't turn anybody away. If you need to market your business, your product, your service, please do. This is a business-friendly show. We want everybody to be engaged. We want everybody to ask questions. We want everybody to acknowledge one another. This is a place where we are safe. We're safe to be ourselves. We're safe to do what we can to be as impressive as we need to be with one another, knowing that it's important to encourage, collaborate, and to communicate as effectively as we possibly can. That's one of the tenets. That's the 3 tenets actually of the round table, which I belong to and founded with my partner, Darren Marcourt. And we have to always think about how we're going to develop those things, how we're going to get those ideals out into the universe. And this is just one of the tools that we use. This is a training moment for those of you all who don't know me. I'm a trainer. That's my life. That's my process. That's my product. That's who I am. That's what I do. That's what I offer to the universe. And so anything that I tell you about, I pretty much have already done, 5 or 6 training programs about it. I have them written, and I'll make them accessible to you. If there's a concept or something that you want to know more about, just put your information in the chat. Let me know who you are, where you're coming from, where you're watching the show from, and I'll make sure that I either instant message you or get you the information that you need to further elaborate on a point. Whatever that is, ask any question. It doesn't matter what it is. If it has to do with small business, it's a good question. It might not be off topic for today. It doesn't make a difference. I don't care about that. What I care about is that you get your information that you need to have in order to thrive, in order to move yourself forward, move your business forward, move your processes forward. So many of us do not have what we need. Do not take the time to even assess what we need. But let's assume you watched the last previous episodes, and if you haven't, you need to go back and watch the last 2 episodes about networking, and you'll realize why you should analyze your network. And we're going to get into our process today, right after these messages. Okay, everybody, this is Coach Powell. Welcome to the show. I'm so glad you're tuning in and hanging out with us today. We're going to have a great time today. If you haven't already, like us, subscribe to us, follow us, share, please share everything we're talking about with your friends, your family, the connections that you have in your life and your business. It is so important that we stay vital in the community. And I realize that over the last few weeks, we've been talking about networking. And I don't think I've really given you an adequate reason why. Why should you build a powerful connection? Why do you need to do this? And so I'm going to read from you from our latest training program, a little bit of an introduction. All right. And there is really, really specific benefits associated with why you should develop your own professional networks and why it's important to you. The neuroscience research has shown that making strong professional connections can have several positive impacts on both your physical and mental health. Professional connections can help to reduce stress, increase your self-esteem, improve your overall well-being. And on a psychosocial level, making professional connections can activate the brain's reward centers, releasing dopamine and other feel-good hormones. This can boost motivation and energy, leading to increased productivity and creating all things that you need to have to grow professionally. Your professional connections also provide valuable insight into new trends and technologies. They help you stay ahead of the curve. Finally, the strong professional connections that provide you a sense of security, support, and trust, allowing professionals to feel more comfortable taking risk while pursuing their goals. There's every reason for you to develop your professional connections and no good reason not to. However, all of us tell you from everybody is blessed with a family. Everybody's blessed with loved ones and friends and people to share their life with as they're growing up somehow, some way. And those developmental relationships mostly did good because they allowed you to survive and to make it to this point. But in a lot of ways, they didn't do so good. Let me explain. I grew up, and a lot of times I spent time down south with my grandparents, and my great grandmother lived right next door to my grandparents. If I was spending time with my grandparents, I had to spend a lot of time with my great grandmother because she was right next door. And she was just a sweet old lady. She would watch out the window all the time and see what we were doing. You know, all the kids were out playing all the time, and she'd always she always noticed, who in the neighborhood was doing what, where, and all that kind of stuff, and checking out what the kids were up to, and what they were talking about, and what they were sharing with. And she knew the kids in the neighborhood a lot more than I did as a guest coming in every summer. So I was about 9 years old. I remember this. And my grandmother pulled me aside after I've been outside playing, and she actually disrupted, my play. And she said, "Marvin, Lee, come here." So I had to come and visit her, sit her on her porch and talk to her. And she would say, "Listen, I don't want you playing with those kids over there because those kids are bad kids. And you're not a bad kid. You're so much better than those kids. And you shouldn't involve yourself with those kids." Now, this was a lot of pressure for a youngster like me because I was the new kid in the neighborhood, only there for the summer. All the kids who were my age were in the category that my great grandmother said that these are people that I shouldn't be involved with. And she saw me as, an up and coming, urban and suburban young man who was doing great things and had good potential and all that kind of stuff. And she didn't want me to be diminished by the surroundings of the local economy and how the poverty literally in that area. She didn't want me to be affected by that negatively. And so she wanted me just to kind of reject that whole side of town, basically. And there was nobody left. There would have been nobody left to play with as a kid. So you think, imagine that. Now I felt guilty about playing with my friends because I had to now do that in secret. Right? I had to do that beyond the eyesight of my grandmother, my great grandmother. My grandmother didn't have a problem with it. My great grandmother had a problem with it. And she really wanted me to put myself on a pedestal and separate myself and isolate myself from others. And I felt really uncomfortable with that. And I didn't want to tell her that I felt uncomfortable with that. So I just played with my friends in secret. Later on in life, I began to notice that as my grandmother would ask me to come to church, and I'd go to church every Sunday. We go to church, and probably every revival meeting that there was, and any other church function that there was, because my grandfather was a deacon, and my grandmother was a deaconess, and my grandfather was also a trustee, and he had the keys to the church, so we had to go to. We had to be in the building all the time. Anyway, there were times when I had friends again in the church. We were together. And when my grandparents were either doing whatever work they were doing for the church, my grandmother might be ushering or she might be singing in the choir. And so there was really no supervision for us at the time. This is maybe about 10 or 11. I was 9 or 10 or 10 or 11. And grandma would say, "I saw you playing around with those kids in church today. You weren't paying attention to what was going on in church. And I need you to be better. I need you to be different. I need you to be special. Because you understand, these kids aren't going anywhere. And you have all the great potential that you need to have, and you need everything you need all the advantages, and you can't allow these people to drag you down." And once again, here I was, feeling guilty, feeling like I had to, hide my friends and I from whatever we were doing. And we were cutting up and not really paying attention. We weren't really acting well. And that didn't look good to my grandparents, right? So, obviously they were okay with kids being kids, but their kid needed to be special, needed to be different. And so I took that on at an early age. I got to be different. I got to be special. I got to be better. And it created a lot of guilt and a lot of fear and a lot of shame when I wasn't that great or that better or better. And I had to live with that. And that became a part of my developmental brain and process. On top of, my mother, who, God bless her, God rest her soul, was a wonderful woman, but she always told me, I'm the smartest, you're the most talented, you're the cutest, the most handsome. I mean, my grandmother even called me Master Powell. That's how she addressed me at 9 years old. It's just a lot that, of expectation that the women specifically in my family put on me. So that leads me to a quote that I want to share with you by Brene Brown. Brene Brown says, shame, blame, disrespect, betrayal, and the withholding of affection damages the roots from which love grows. Love can only survive these injuries if they are acknowledged, healed, and rare. Now, Brene said a mouthful in this quote. I'm going to read it to you once again so you understand it, so you think about it deeply, right? Shame, blame, disrespect, betrayal, and the withholding of affection damages the roots from which love grows. Love can only survive these injuries if they are acknowledged, healed, and rare. So let me tell you something about Brene Brown. She's one of the preeminent sociologists in the world. If you haven't seen her TED Talks, you should go out and watch one. And then once you go out and watch one of her TED Talks, so these are the most recent ones that you can find, go out and buy every book that she's ever written. I have, and I'm telling you, she's a genius. And she's done the studies, the research, and back up everything she's talking about. She's the nation's leading expert on shame. She knows where it comes from, how it develops, and how to get around it. And Renee would basically tell you that, and what she's sharing here in this quote is that we are lucky to even survive our childhood, knowing how to love others adequately. How do you do it adequately? We don't know how to do it. We know how to be there, and we want to be in the space, but we don't know how to adequately love people in a way that cancels out shame, blame, disrespect, betrayal, and the withholding of affection. And this is key, right? Because can you imagine this? Instead of you experiencing all those negative things, what if you experienced all the way into your adulthood, only dignity, honor, respect, loyalty, and tons of affection? If that's all you ever experienced in your entire childhood, we wouldn't be in a situation where most adults today don't even know how to be happy. So now I want you to understand that your lack of desire and understanding of how to build a powerful, a proactive network usually stems from what happened previously to you in your life. And it comes out in a couple of key ways. Now, we might have mentioned these 9 ways last week, and I'm going to repeat them for you because I want you to understand these are the things that keep us from becoming all that we need to become and doing what we need to do for one another and creating powerful, positive networks that move the needle, move us all forward, right? 1, lack of confidence. 2, fear of rejection. 3, lack of self-awareness. 4, lack of knowledge about networking. 5, uncomfortable with networking. 6, lack the necessary skills to build and maintain relationships. 7, inadequate communication skills. 8, difficulty in finding the right people to network with. And 9, the lack of understanding how to best use the different networking platforms. So today I want to tackle the first 3, right? Just so you are really, you have the tools that you need to have, or at least an understanding, a framework to start to build on. There's a lot to all of this stuff, right? But the first 3, right? 1, lack of confidence, fear of rejection, and low self-esteem, or low self-awareness, right? So let's talk about it. Lao Tzu said, because one believes in oneself, one doesn't try to convince others. Because one is content with oneself, one doesn't need others' approval. And because one accepts oneself, the whole world accepts him or her. This is all about confidence. Why might one lack confidence, and how do you fix it? What skills and talents are you most proud of, and how do you know that those skills are adequate? How do you learn? How do you relay what you've learned to others and to yourself? As it turns out, studies show that having trust, belief, and faith in yourself and in others happens best when you grow up in an environment that gives you plenty of opportunities to practice making and keeping promises. First to yourself, then to others. I tell people all the time, when you make promises to yourself that you keep, you have a claim to what they call integrity, right? If you do that enough, other people notice it, then you have a claim to trustworthiness. But if you don't make promises that you keep to yourself, you don't have a claim to integrity. In fact, you have a claim to hypocrisy. And you are not then, therefore, trustworthy to other people. It's super simple. So the first promises you have to make is you have to be able to make promises to yourself that you keep. Promises about your health, promises about your wellness, promises about your mental togetherness, promises about your social development. Your heart, mind, body, and soul have to follow. You have to make promises in those areas that you can develop and maintain and become clear with, because that's how you're going to learn how to develop that self-confidence, that trust, that belief and faith in yourself. Okay, when you do something well that others notice and give you positive feedback on, your confidence builds, and so does the connection and the feeling of belonging that you develop from that. This kind of practice early in your career, when you are appreciated and cared for, will quicken your development, embolden you to stretch and try new things, or it can also dampen your resolve, break your spirit, and keep you right where you are today. Even when all you get is negativity and rejection, it manifests itself and it stops you. It retards your growth and your development. And so it's super, super important that you stay away from those things, that you are clear about how you want to move forward. So it's a real simple formula. Practice, respect, and acceptance with others on purpose as often as you can. Let me say that again. The simple formula to developing confidence in others is to practice respect and acceptance on purpose as often as you can. This is important to do for yourself as you grow. The more you are mindful and celebrate yourself and others, doing the right things, the more self-assured you become, and the more control you'll have over even the smallest details of your life and interactions. You must learn to love yourself with no exceptions. If you want others to do so, this is key. You just got to do it. To me, this is the first level of integrity. Okay, so let's deal with rejection. Jodi Picoult, who wrote The Change of Heart, says, when you're different, sometimes you don't see the millions of people who accept you for what you are. All you notice is the person who doesn't. What is the fear of rejection all about? Isn't it really about the very basic human desire that we all have to be accepted? It's so easy for our ideas to be dismissed or refused by others, even if these ideas are worthy of attention and consideration. The ultimate skill here is getting the right kind of attention from the right kind of people at the right time. Of course, you must have the opportunity to demonstrate both your competence and your character if you want others to recognize, affirm, or even embrace you. But before we get to that opportunity to win the confidence and approval of others, we've got to create what I like to call the environment of acceptance. Think about it. You already have this environment with the people who know, like, and trust you right now, right? You have that. Well, how did you get there with them? I'll bet that if you deconstruct how your best relationships were built, you'll find moments when you boldly share your highest ideals. You may remember times when you seem to be deeply appreciated and even adored by others. Even better, there may have been some obstacles or challenges that you faced together. In any case, knowing that what you've done it, that you've done it before, can be a small confidence booster. People can have and have enjoyed you in the past and are likely to do so in the future. You just have to figure out the magic formula that will work best for future connections and systematize this process. I can't tell you, anything more about how important it is. You've got to face it head on, this fear of rejection. The next thing you have to face and deal with is the potential that we all have for low self-esteem, low self-awareness, right? Kevin Michaud, who wrote Moving Through Parallel Worlds to Achieve Your Dreams, said this: to shift your life in a desired direction, you must powerfully shift your subconscious. We are not always aware of exactly why and how we feel the way we feel, especially about ourselves. And that's why it's important to do that work I said to you for you to do weeks ago, to truly analyze your networks, not just what they are, but what effect they have had on you. So there's 3 things I want you to think about when it comes to your self-awareness, or increasing your self-awareness. First thing I already mentioned earlier, I'm going to say it again. Listen to the truth that everyone around you has been telling you for years. Your family and your friends and professional connections have been trying to tell you that you are great. They've been telling you what they specifically can count on you for. You can see what they call you to do, what they ask for you, when they ask for you, and why they ask for you. And it's not simply because no one else wants to do it. I know that's something that's a potential for us to think about, like, oh, no one else wants to do it. No, you're being entrusted to do it. And you need to reframe that, because you might be the only person that can do it, and probably the person that should do it, whatever it is. So think about that. Now, it doesn't mean you're going to need to do it, but it does mean people they think they can depend on you for that. And you need to open that up and ask the question, why do you think I could do this? What is it about me that you think is adequate in asking me? And they'll tell you, because what they can't help but notice if they know you is what about you impresses them. Although we're not good at expressing that, we are good at feeling that. There are people that you have a tremendous amount of respect for. You haven't always shared that level of respect for them, and specifically why you have that level of respect for them. That's not something that we are necessarily good at doing, but we need to get better at this. The people around you have a front row seat to what you're doing. They have a front row seat to where you are, and it will increase your self-awareness to dig a little deeper into what it is they are seeing in you and asking those questions. What is that you value in me, and what is it that I bring to the table that's unique and special that you can see? Because the more you ask those questions, the more you inquire, get that feedback, the more you're going to be given the information from people that you care about, people that care about you, that's going to help you go, aha, I see something there that I can key in on. Think about your colleagues in your workplace. What do they depend on you for? Not just what your responsibilities are, but what is it they depend on you for, where you are super meaningful and super worthy? What is it? Find that out, and then figure out what you can do to maximize it. This is number 2 of developing and creating a better self-awareness and a self-esteem for yourself. Create a plan to build on the strengths that you clearly have. Include the values that you have. One of my values is being courageous. And I try to purposely find ways to exercise that value in a meaningful way in my business every day. I write down something new every day, or something that I want to achieve today based on my desire to be more courageous than I was yesterday. And as I practice that element, and I share that with my friends and my family and the people around me and the associates that I have, all of a sudden they jump on board, and they're making suggestions, and they're coming up with ways that can help me and give me encouragement to continue to push forward and strive for things that I need to strive for. These are things but you have to include those values into your universe, right? Into your daily tasks, right? We'll get more into that later, talk about tasks. Do your homework so that you can be specific about who you need in your network. The people that got you here won't get you there. Some of them will be there for you, but not all of them. And so you've got to decide the kinds of people that you're going to need to have in your future network. And you've got to really do your research about this. Now, there's never been a better or easier time to find out how and who and what you should be looking for. We've got AI, we've got ChatGPT, we've got Google, we've got so many different ways to get new information into our world quickly. And guess what? Your library card is an amazing gift. Learn how to use the reference section. Learn how to get the most updated periodicals about who is the most talented in what industries and where they're coming from, and do the background, do the homework, find out. Just go on LinkedIn, do some searches, really find out who these people are and who they could possibly be to you. Put them on the list. Now, that doesn't mean they're going to be there. They're going to automatically jump on board and go, hey, I love you, Marvin. I want to hang out with you, blah, blah, blah. But you gotta identify them. Begin to share that list with other people in your team, on your team, or in your associate, and they might know somebody might know somebody on the list. They might be able to tell you what the best, the smartest way for you to get a high level introduction to that person. Not just to go out and meet them at the conference or meet them at the speeches, whatever. That's good. That's something, right? That's all you got. Do it. But I will promise you that it's much better when somebody introduces you and says, this is the person that I trust at a high level. I think you're going to like hanging out with them, or like enjoy communicating with them, or having them in your universe. Why don't you sit down with them for a few minutes and talk face to face if you can, because that's where the best interaction happens. All right. So once you've created that strength, that plan to build on a strength, you have to include the original network, you have to do your homework, and then you have to choose the people that you think are going to support you. Now, again, everybody on your list is not going to be people that's going to support you. But as you meet them, you take them off the list and you add somebody else. And you decide where they fit in your network. Are they going to be at the transaction level? Or could they potentially step up to be one of your inner circle members? You have to be able to assess that for yourself, and you have to be able to think about that, what that means. The next thing you have to do to truly involve and then grow your confidence, right, and grow your self-awareness and your self-esteem, is to harvest the investments that you seek from others in real time. What do I mean by that? You have to be willing to invest your time, your talent, your treasure, and your trust in these relationships first. You've got to be willing to give first and often. If you find that somebody that you're trying to attract, or somebody that you're trying to bring into your circle has a need, and you have a way to help them with that need, either through your time, your talent, your treasure, or your trust, leveraging your trust with other people might be a great way to create an opportunity for them that might help with their issue, their problem, or their opportunities to grow. But thinking about that, what you bring to the table, and then bringing that first, being willing to bring that first. Not in a creepy, I've got the solution to all of your problems way, but in a very specific, I hear that this is something that you're saying that is a problem for you. I think I may have a way to solve it, or even move the needle in the right direction for you. Can we spend a few minutes talking about it to make sure that's an adequate move to make before we decide we're going to do that? That's a better way to introduce an opportunity to somebody than to say, I got the solution. This is what you definitely need, blah, 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 blah. Especially cold when they don't know you. But it's a great way, again, to make a promise. If you look at the first 3 steps in the 9-step process, the second step is make promises. The third step is then follow up and follow through. And that's in terms of creating the powerful relationships that you have to create in your world. So this is the thing. Be willing to give first. Be willing to give often. Set aside time, space, whatever you need to set aside as a resource to be able to share that with others. This is how you nudge the law of reciprocity. Instead of giving to people indiscriminately, give discriminately to those people that you want to create that environment of wellness and an environment of return. Yes, you're looking for a return. There is no free lunch. You're not doing things just out of the goodness of your heart. Your heart is good and it should be good, but you're doing things because you do want to be attractive and be attracted by the other person. And you need to be clear about that. Somebody asks you, well, why would you be willing to do this for me? Well, I'm really trying to develop a good, powerful, collaborative relationship with you in the future, I think. And I think this might be a great opportunity to start that process. And if you're open to it, I'll definitely do it for you. If you're not open to it, then, no harm, no foul. We'll move on with our lives. Simple, simple, simple. Very, very important. You have to be willing to serve. You have to be willing to give, and give indiscriminately. Not give discriminately, I should say that again, but give in the right direction at the right time with the right people. Because you only have so much capacity. I cannot stress that enough. And this, when people say, oh, thank you, I would appreciate that. Let's do that. Yes, you're going to feel your confidence, showing up. You're going to feel yourself being able to develop that. And again, you're nudging that law of reciprocity. The next thing you do to harvest your investments, right, for other people, is to create this payback vortex. You want to have in your world so many people in your top 10 list of people, right, that you have positively influenced in some way, shape, or form, that they naturally feel like, you know what, I need to do something to help you out. If you haven't done that, then again, you don't have a rightful claim to their love, attention, respect, affection. The things that you may have been missing in other parts of your network, you're not going to get it from them if you don't do this correctly. So I've shared a lot with you today when it comes to building your networks, right? And first of all, building your confidence, getting around the rejection, conquering your low self-awareness. These are things that you gotta be able to do, and you have to be able to do them systematically. You have to be able to do them programmatically, and you have to learn and practice all the techniques and tactics. A lot of those things I share in all of my training programs. If you'd like to see a copy for yourself of the 9-step program, do me a favor. Just send me an instant message. Call me. My number's scrolling across the screen. Text me, whatever, and I'll get it to you. I won't charge you a dime. All I ask is this: if you read it, it's a short read, but if you read it and you like it, or anything, if you don't like it, I don't care. Give me your feedback. That's all I want. I want your engagement. I want your feedback, because that's how I get better. I'll be sharing you the latest version of it, but know that there's going to be another version, maybe 2 more this year, as people give me feedback. I make adjustments. And so it's key, because that's how I get better. This has been Coffee, Tea, You and Me. This is it's 3:45. I'm going to close this down if I don't have any questions out there. And it was good talking to you guys. I'm hoping to see you again next week. This is Coach Powell signing off. Had a great time. I hope you did too.